Oh boy, Ahsoka Episode 4 Fallen Jedi. As we expected when we found out it was Peter Ramsey directing, it delivered something which fans are calling the best episode of live-action Star Wars in a very long time. I didn't expect such a powerful, cinematic and intense episode, especially with the Anakin reveal right at the end, which got everyone emotional, whether you were crying, jumping with joy. You can't deny this was a massive moment for Star Wars, but I'm so glad they did it going into next week, which will be directed by Dave himself, who wrote the whole show too. That's the episode being described as a game changer, the one Ahsoka episode that no fan wants to miss. So let's start by talking about the ending, and then we'll work our way back. After her lightsaber duel on Cetos against Baylan, as I predicted, she loses, but she wakes up in the world between worlds, a concept that we first saw explored in Star Wars Rebels, which is very misunderstood. Some people talk about time travel, but that is not what it is. Here is how Dave Filoni explained it. The world between worlds was a mystical plane within the Force that served as a collection of doors and pathways existing between time and space, linking all moments in time together. We hear Anakin behind us say, "Hello Snips," which is where all Clone Wars fans cheered. Anakin first called Ahsoka Snips on Christophsis in the 2008 Clone Wars movie, and it became the nickname he addressed her by thereafter. Ahsoka, upon meeting him for the first time, insisted on calling him Sky Guy, which prompted him to warn her to, quote, "not get snippy," and that's where the name comes from. So in the episode, she turns around and she sees Anakin right there in front of her. Now there are a lot of questions surrounding the nature of his presence and essence. Some are saying this is a Force ghost, but I think it's more of a manifestation through the Force, which is enabled by the world between worlds. And we know it's not a Force ghost because he has his robotic arm. By contrast, at the end of Return of the Jedi, Hayden Christensen as Anakin's Force ghost does not, and he's got these majestic, traditional Jedi robes. There is something deliberately off, and it's not just the heavy de-aging. Notice he's in his Revenge of the Sith outfit, unlike in the Kenobi series where in flashbacks he had a more Attack of the Clones look. Now on the subject of his appearance, I personally wish they would have just let Hayden Christensen look the way he does in 2023, but it does work in the context of what they're trying to achieve in this episode. But there is a sense that not all is as it seems. I don't think Ahsoka's looking at what she thinks she is. And to this end, something major to point out is that we hear Darth Vader's theme as the episode cuts to black, and the fact that Anakin's lightsaber is a bit different to the Skywalker one he usually had. Some are saying it's Darth Vader's lightsaber, it's a bit darker, but this could just be the lighting. There were a lot of deliberate creative choices here. It's intentionally quite ethereal, and we're meant to go into the next episode wondering what's going on. They left us on a cliffhanger. There is a certain symbolism to the whole sequence, and from what we've heard about the next episode from various rumours and leaks, it's going to heavily feature Anakin once again, and possibly the purpose Ahsoka holds within the living Force as she finds herself again in the world between worlds, after it looked as though she perished at the hands of Baylan. And I still hold on to the belief that Ahsoka the White will eventually happen. Some are saying it was retconned with the earlier episode of this show, but I think it's still to come. Her connection to the daughter, and what she's about to experience Force-wise. In any case, I'm excited for what's to come, and they knew exactly what they were doing leaving us on a cliffhanger like this one. It's fantastic that Dave Filoni acknowledges that you can't have Ahsoka without the importance of her master. Keep in mind that Anakin was central to everything in George's 6 films, and the way she lit up when she saw him for the first time. Fans have complained that Rosario is too one-note and emotionless as Ahsoka in this series, but it's because of the trauma she's endured and all the things she's been through over the decades. Of course, she's not going to be the same bouncy Ahsoka she once was, the same Ahsoka from the animated shows. But Rosario's expression when Anakin is behind her was really how we were all feeling, elated. So moving on, because there is still so much to get through. In my opinion, Baylan was the star of this episode. Ray Stevenson was taken from us way too soon, and the way he delivered his dialogue with meaning and purpose, as well as his range and his chemistry with his on-screen counterparts, truly captivated me. The lightsaber duels in general were absolutely riveting, and have generally improved compared to a lot of other Disney Star Wars battles. And guess what? It turned out the Marrok leak was true. He was once an Inquisitor who presumably died and was revived by Morgan Elsbeth through Night Sister magic. And so now in the show, when Ahsoka sliced through him, smoke let out and he became dust. It goes back to the whole Army of the Dead thing. And you've got to give credit to the music in this episode. It was very samurai-like, there were tropes that came from chapter 13 of Mando season 2, and just the tension, the anxiousness. It brought a certain magic that makes this episode very special, on top of everything else. An underrated performance in my own opinion was Ivana Sakno as Shin. She had so much more oomph in this episode, more defiant, especially when choking Sabine, and Baylan tells her to let go. David Tennant as Huyang was again on point, and the start of the episode felt like a plotline right out of Star Wars Rebels. Our heroes unable to contact the other rebels due to the Downs comm system. Another huge surprise was seeing the Ghost fly in live action as Hera and her son Jacen, as her co-pilot along with Chopper, assembles a squadron as Phoenix Leader with the help of a familiar face. Paul Sun-Hyung Lee, Carson Teva is back. Also, Brendan Wayne, who is a stunt double for the Mandalorian, was also one of these lieutenants, Lieutenant Landa. Jacen Syndulla definitely has the Force, much like his dad. He tells his mum when the hyperdrive wipes out the X-Wing pilots that he has a bad feeling. This was a way of telling the audience, yep, when he said he wanted to be a Jedi, he meant it because he might be. And so now guys, we need to talk about Sabine Wren. An enormous reveal by Baylan is that Sabine's family died on Mandalore during the Night of 1,000 Tears. I think he's being genuine about this. Throughout the second half of the Book of Boba Fett, and then The Mandalorian Season 3, we wondered what happened to Ursa, Tristan, and Clan Wren after the events of Star Wars Rebels. We assumed they would be at the reunification of Mandalore at the end of Season 3, but when that didn't happen, Star Wars fans theorized we were gonna see them in the Ahsoka show. But it turns out they died, which gives added weight to Sabine's more downbeat nature, because she is so traumatized. Baylan senses her vulnerability and notes Sabine wants to find Ezra because he's her only family left. And during the duels, it was so cool to see Ahsoka protective over Sabine and Baylan over Shin. Masters protecting their apprentices. And so going back to the whole Sabine's family thing, it gives us another reason why there is so much hostility between Ahsoka and Sabine. Ahsoka didn't want Sabine to go to Mandalore. Baylan says it's because she didn't trust her, but the real reason was for her own protection. Ahsoka didn't want to lose Sabine, but because Sabine wasn't with them when they died, resentment ensued. It's an interesting parallel to Obi-Wan and the Jedi not wanting Anakin to go back and see his mum. Sabine gives in and goes with Baylan, which some have noted might feel like a betrayal to some Star Wars Rebels fans. Why would she give in to the Empire again, or an iteration of the Empire, the heir to the Empire? Well, desperation is a central theme of this episode. She is agonized by the disappearance of Ezra, and will do anything to find him again. And so, the Eye of Sion departs. We now have an interesting scenario where Ahsoka is in the world between worlds, whereas Sabine is with our villains headed for Peridea. Ironically, earlier in the episode, Huyang's advice to them was to stay together. They were always better that way, and now they're apart once again. Hera is about to arrive on Cetos, and presumably do her best to make heads or tails of what's going on, and where the other two have gone. I believe I speak for a large portion of the fandom when I say, we can't wait to see what's in store for episode 5. I'm sure Dave has something remarkable in store. And this would not be a proper review if I didn't add the very much evident fact, dialogue has markedly improved week after week. No lines were wasted, and again, Baylan was the star. His full motives are still unknown, and I think Dave has deliberately saved that as an upcoming reveal. For him, finding Thrawn and the war starting is a necessary evil for what he wants to achieve. Now is a good time to go back and watch my theory about what Baylan really wants and how it connects to Anakin. What an episode, I cannot wait for next week. But share your thoughts on it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, my dear friends, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and go and check out the video on your end screen now.